52nd Street is a famous street in New York City, famous for having a lot of jazz clubs on it. It was like the center of the jazz universe back in the 40s and the 50s, even into the 60s. A lot of jazz musicians had clubs there. And we didn't realize it at the time, but we were really leaning more into a jazzy style. And the studio was actually on 52nd Street, just off of 7th Avenue. So we decided, well, hey, the Beatles could call an album Abbey Road. We can call an album 52nd Street. I did a lot of my own research for Big Shot. It's partly about me, and it's partly about somebody else who was a big shot. Obviously, I don't wear a Halston dress. So it was a woman who had to make a fool out of herself at some occasion, at some event we were at. But I don't know how many mornings I've woken up, looked in the mirror, and seen this hungover, bloodshot eyes, just, unshaven, messy. You had to be a big shot, didn't you? You had to open up your mouth. You had to have the spotlight. You had to be a big shot last night. And believe me, I've done a lot of research for it, and I know what I'm talking about. It's a hangover song.
The Billy Joel Channel.
Honesty is the most bullshit song I ever wrote. Who am I to preach to people? You got to be honest with me. I haven't always been honest in my life. It was either I needed to come up with a lyric really quick because I had the melody, and my drummer, Liberty DeVito, at the time, said, all right, well, he needs the lyrics to know where he is in the song. So he started making up his own lyrics before I had words. And he decided the lyrics were going to be sodomy. Sodomy, it's such a lonely word. Holy shit, I got to come up with some words very fast, or else this song is always going to be sodomy. So I just came up with honesty, and that's what I wrote about. I wrote my life after the Stranger album came out. I was living in Cove Neck, and I had my first house that I owned. And I had a piano in the living room, and wrote my life. Welcome, and it started off as welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the real life. Na 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 na. It's very simple. It's got a cute melody, and the lyrics are kind of simple. But basically just saying, to hell with you, this is my life. I wanted to write kind of a jazzy piece, and this, for some reason or other, the title Zanzibar stuck in my head. I said, that sounds kind of jazzy. And I remember going into the studio, and Phil Ramone was the producer, and I said, I got this idea for a song about Zanzibar. And I started writing these fakakta lyrics. Night is falling on the skies of Zanzibar, like an exotic place. And then Phil Ramone said, yeah, it sounds like a sports bar. And it's called Zanzibar. It sounds like a jazzy kind of sports bar. And I said, wait a minute, that's a really good idea. That's much better than what my thought was. And I actually took Phil's idea and went with the sports bar thing. This is about a barfly. Some guy who just goes to a sports bar and he's in love with the waitress. Because I used to do that all the time, fall in love with waitresses. And it became Zanzibar. It became the song Zanzibar. It was just all made up out of my head. One of my favorite bands from my impetuous youth was a band called Traffic, featuring Steve Winwood. I've liked him since the Spencer Davis Group days, and I loved him in Traffic. And there were some riffs that were endemic to Traffic. I'll give you an example. There's a song called Shanghai Noodle Factory, which they did, I believe this was the late 60s, and it started out... in a Shanghai Noodle Factory. Anyway, and there was this riff was going on. In a Shanghai Noodle Factory, place where I once used to be. Now we're doing nothing. And I like that riff, and I like the groove that they got. And I ended up doing something very similar in a song called Stiletto. Not yet. They weren't the first band to do a riff like that, but I just liked the grooves that they got. They were kind of jazz-based, and they were very different from everybody else. That's why I liked them so much. Rosalinda's Eyes is my attempt to write a letter that my father should have written to my mother. It's about a musician who's, you know, playing he's a Cuban musician, but he's playing in a Puerto Rican band. And he's just trying to make money, and it's a struggle, and they're scratching along, him and this woman, and but he loves her, and he wants her to know he's trying to make it for her, which is a letter that my father should have written my mother. He wasn't very romantic to my mom, and my mom was a very romantic type of person, and I thought, you know, she should have had a letter like that. He should have written her a letter like that. So I can always find my Cuban skies in Rosalinda's eyes. My mother's name was Rosalind. So it's kind of about my mom. And I pretty much lifted the map from them. I didn't copy the melody. It's my own melody. It's my own music. But stylistically, it's very much like them. I never ask you where you go. After I leave you in the morning, I was actually trying to do Bill Medley and Bobby Hatfield's voice, the bass voice and the tenor voice, and combine them into this big, gigantic chorus. Until the night, whoa, I just might make, like I said, you've lost that loving feeling. Oh, that loving feeling. It's almost Wagnerian. It's just this big operatic, chorus that just beats you over the head. And I'm not reticent to say that, do I poach other people's styles? Absolutely. I'm not a stylist. Not a big fan of my own voice, never have been. I'm a songwriter, which means I can imagine any voice doing something that I write, not just Billy's voice, but the Reichs brothers doing it. I can imagine songs done by Procol Harum. I can imagine my songs done by just about anybody. That's what allows me to be a songwriter. I skip styles constantly. I'm constantly changing my voice because I'm bored with my own voice.